Really? Now with all you got on your agenda, Brian, no, we'll never get out of here. All right, if I can have your attention, I think.
Morning, John.
Yep,
Set to start.
we're all on.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to call the meeting for the Personnel Committee for the Washington County Board of Supervisors to order. And first thing we have on the agenda is the exception for minutes. We have a motion to
So moved.
move the minutes. Moved by Dave, seconded by Dan. Is there any discussion? All in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Staffing straight backfill request. I'll turn this over to Danielle.
So the first backfills from public health, there was a senior preschool service coordinator vacated on 8/1 due to a promotion to the EI program coordinator position, which in turn created a preschool service coordinator vacancy due to a promotion to the senior preschool service coordinator. So everybody moved up into the spots above. So we do have a vacancy for a preschool service coordinator now. Sewer district, we had a wastewater treatment plant operator vacate due to a retirement. Social services had a caseworker vacating tomorrow or the 16th due to a resignation.
Does anyone have any questions on those? All right, then we'll move on to the staffing pattern. Creating some schedule changes.
So on the handout that I gave you, there is one addition to the agenda. It's for buildings and grounds. They're requesting to increase the pool of their lifeguards at both parks to help out with the end of the year for August to fill some of the spots to have lifeguards available. He's looking to have a total of 15 lifeguards for each park. Currently, he has 15 for both. So he wanted to just have that pool so people can take vacations when needed and have someone to fill in for that too, so.
So he actually doesn't need any more people per day or whatever, it's
Right.
just he needs a bigger pool to pick from. So
It
the
is
cost,
budget
the
neutral,
cost will be the same.
and that would need to be a staffing pattern change.
I'll move it. Moved by Dave, second. Brian, any discussion? All in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
What does this do though for if he wants to increase the number of staff? Does this open the door for that to happen without more discussion?
No, because this is he's just asking to have more people, a bigger pool that he can draw from. He's not
To
going
do the same work.
to do the
Same work, it'll
Not
still
to
be the
the
same
same
amount of
extent.
people every day,
Same number.
so it doesn't cost anymore.
Yeah, I know that for now. I'm just saying going forward, that's not gonna,
Well, no, it's been depleting is the problem, that's why he's doing it. He can't get enough people.
Kids going to school.
oh, so we've always had a larger pool than what we got right now.
No,
No,
he's having to get a larger pool in order to get enough people to actually fill the positions. Used to be you hired them and they came. Now you need 30 people to get 15 to show up. That's basically what that
Right.
says.
Okay,
It's a sign of the times.
So the next item is, it moved from government ops for the county clerk. She did, receive an extension to the grant that she had a full-time, temporary clerk position. It was, the start of July 1st, 2024 to June 30th of 2025. It is currently on the staffing pattern and it does state that the position will sunset with the grant. So since the grant was continued, we just want to keep it on the staffing pattern now.
And they'll still sunset on the 6th.
It will still sunset, yeah.
I'll move by David. Second by Brian. Same discussion?
is that gonna sunset on the 2025 or not 26 because you've got another year on the grant?
Well, this is the extension up to the June 30th of 2025.
Okay,
So
when was it gonna sunset before when the other one
June of
expired?
2024.
Okay, thank you.
So it only takes it out 1 year, doesn't
Yeah.
take it out 2 years again.
The next item was moved from probation, public safety for probation. He requested to reclassify the position of the account clerk, which is a grade 8, to a probation assistant, which is a grade 10. He did want this to occur as soon as possible with your approval.
And you agree with
And
that?
probation does have.
I guess that's the big thing, is you agree that that's the case.
Yeah.
I'll move it.
the
Good, Brian,
duties.
you have a second? Dave, Dan?
Yeah, what does that do to the budget as far as point one for that? Now that we do that,
Raises it for next
It
year.
raises
I
it,
know.
yeah.
Doesn't do anything
Does it-
this year.
is there,
You know if he brought his numbers to? Did he bring his numbers to? It's 0.1.
I don't, 6,000, I think. he said.
Was it?
What's the difference between 8 and 10, whatever that is?
Right.
What's that? Yeah, it's $2 an hour too.
No. Good math, that works.
That's mathing.
I believe that the two grades is usually around 6 to 6,400. That's a really safe number.
at one time, we kind of had a policy and then we mentioned it on every one of these meetings. It's, things like this should be done at budget time. Now, can we at budget time or sometime, can you come up with the total amount that we've done this year out of budget? I mean, I think we're spending a lot of money that we don't realize. At 6,000 at a time, you don't see it, but I bet how do you say that?
Accumulated.
Accumulated, yeah. But I was gonna put a TIV on the end of it and I couldn't put it together that way.
No, but you're really accurate, and that's where we're at right now. It's gonna be a problem with the amount of personnel we have, but we hadn't been able to fill them, so it hadn't been an issue. Now we're starting to fill them. It is an issue, but now we gotta get right sized because of what we're up against. And should be doing that all the time anyway, but now we have departments where we still can't get people, so
So can we do that, give the numbers you're looking for what we do?
we can, yes.
Yeah,
I mean, we ought to see what we're getting ourselves into.
the annual tracks all the changes and not gonna apply money to it, so that's easy.
And although the policy has been to keep all of those staffing changes just to be just at budget time, there's always going to be exceptions that are brought during the year because there's times when positions are classified differently than what they were. So we've done a good job, I think, trying to control the numbers.
What's the
that are done during
exception
the
for
year.
this one?
The
The
duties of
duties.
the position are a lot higher. than an
Reclassified?
Yeah, the actual position was reclassified because the duties are more of that probation assistant. They can do a lot more as a probation assistant.
Dave, wasn't he having an issue recruiting someone for that position anyways?
For the account clerk.
But it's really not account clerk duties he's looking for, so.
Well, and the whole thing's changed. If nobody can be incarcerated, everything's going to alternative sentencing and probation. So we're putting a whole stress on a whole different area. The question is, can we bring down the staffing, in that, so far they haven't allowed us to bring down the staffing in the jail. They can close our own prison, but we can't shut down staffing in the jail. I mean, it's a little ludicrous, but it's where we're at.
Okay,
Yeah, I wish I had better news.
So, Dan, if we do that at budget time, is that okay, or you want it before? that?
well, I mean, the thing of it is, the budget's coming up fast and I just don't want to overwork
That'd be great at
everybody to
September
come up with
finance
an
if we do
answer.
that. That would give us a kind of a report card of how we were
Sure.
doing. I would like that.
So we're gonna,
We made that work.
we'll plan on doing it for September finance. Perfect. Dave, perfect, Dan.
That's okay.
It works, okay.
So the next item was from real property. There's a data collector currently on the staffing pattern that was until July 25th of 2024 to help in the office until she hired an account clerk. That position is actually still vacant, so she's hoping that she could just extend the time for the data collector in there until she gets an account clerk hired,
Which one's more expensive?
the data collector.
Hmm.
Great, I think.
The hours that data collectors
But it's
work are very limited.
part-time.
Are very,
Very-
yeah,
it's
it's just
not-
enough to get us by.
It's not a full-time thing, it's just as needed. So we're looking to just pull the date off of the staffing pattern, to keep that data collector on until the, account clerk is filled, and then I would come back to committee and remove that position. on the staff.
So-
The funding sheet.
So is that gonna be worded that it's the sunset is when the town clerk is?
But even then, it's a brand new person in that position. She has a lot of breakage this
Yeah.
year, unfortunately. So I personally would like to see her be able to utilize that person until she gets on her feet in that department. She's a new director. She's had staffing shortages the entire time she's been here. So if we could just kind of keep that temporary part-time person on there, for
I
more.
agree
than-
with that too,
where's
the
that
kind of
fit?
training purposes too.
Where's that fit into the budget though? Have you got the money for
She
both?
has a lot of breakage.
Yeah, cause it's,
She has
yeah,
managed for that.
we've been down a couple of people
Yeah,
most of
I
the year.
wouldn't, she's not expecting to want that position into next year by any means, but just right now to just help that department get through.
And
Some
one of the-
tax bills and
And one of
school
the
bills
changes,
and
well, one
things
of the
like that
changes
coming
we're
up,
having is
so.
gonna be IMO changing so that there's not people involved, and that should pay off to help with staffing.
I'd just like to be able to give her the resources she needs.
Yeah, that we get off to a good start, yeah.
Kind of-
But she's doing well so far. I'll move that if that's what you.
Yeah.
Moved by Brian, seconded by Daryl. Any discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, carried.
So the next item was moved from Health and Human Services for, social services. It's a request to add a worker assistant due to funding that was just received. You know, Tammy's here. If you need additional information, she could probably help.
Yeah, I think, I'll start, go ahead, Daryl. No, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, well, I know it's the way it's worded, but I know we don't wanna bring on somebody just because we got funding. I guess there's a real workload.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. This is working with our homeless population, which is huge. It's unmanageable for the staff that we currently have. And that's the case statewide. That's why this money has been put into the state budget. They are pulling down federal funds for it and directing what it is that we have to use it for.
Thank you.
So Commissioner, what grade is it at? Do you know roughly?
That is I thought I did.
We got
I
a
think
sheet
it's
here.
a
I got
10.
you. Yeah, okay. Got it.
This is 100%.
So it's gonna be federal, yeah. So it's 100% of the funds coming in for.
Covers the fringe and it will also cover some over.
So do we need a motion to finance or are we good here?
Motion.
Motion to finance? Motion to move to finance.
Daryl, you have a second for that?
I'll second it for discussion.
You got it.
My discussion, is this permanent funding or is this a temporary funding?
They go year by year in their budget and they acknowledge, because counties have asked about sustainability of this. They've acknowledged that it's something that's got to be continued in following year's budget. There is no legislation that grants the perpetuity, but they expect that it will be continued in the following years.
And how do you know if it's not continued? You'll get a notice that
During
the funding for that position is gone? Is that-
It'll be a matter of watching how the state budget, trajectory of that. I'm also having problems with some words. Once it's released next year, when that usually February, March, April, and then after that, seeing if it's in there. If it were to go away, hopefully it doesn't. I still think having this, as long as we still have as many, or even half as many people in housing, temporary housing, working to get them into permanent settings is more to our advantage and saves us more money than this is gonna cost us. And because we would be able to then apply this across the rest of our programs and get that 75%. I know it's not.
No,
I don't
no,
take it lightly.
I just want it clear in our minds that you're asking for a new position and as right now, you've got the funding for it. But there's no guarantee. So this is a new position regardless. It's not one that
Yeah.
we've got that's a little different
The
than,
claims period is from July 1st of 24 to June 30th of 25.
and what's the cost of this position?
It's $24.22 an hour.
Annual, since this is a permanent, I'd like an annual.
Just a second.
I think I have it here.
Yeah, I know what Dan's getting to, because I was gonna offer to amend mine contingent upon.
Right, and I had a feeling that isn't what she
She's
wanted.
advocating for a person.
Right,
The salary, gross salary for the position for a period of, well, September first through June thirtieth, because that's what the funding is for. 34,000, we're adding on 13,500 for fringe, and then we had administrative overhead and central services that we are also going to build into our budget for that.
and then there's actually being full-time, there's gonna be another 3 months added to that. To be a full year. So you're over 60.
It's just a
60,
matter of where we
65.
are right now. The funding, notice of this funding came out on July 16th, and they made it claimable 16 days before that
Yep,
to run out on June 30th of 25.
and they're only gonna pay 75% regardless.
This is 100%.
Oh, this is 100 right
This is
now,
Right now.
100%.
but if it goes off the
Then it
chart,
would be 75% on
Okay.
another program.
It's about 37,000.
And what she's advocating is that if we keep it permanent and not contingent to the federal funding, 100% federal.
yeah,
It would actually save us money in the long run,
in theory.
in theory, if we get them out of temporary and into permanent solutions.
If you end up hearing me or my successor come to this table and say we've cured homelessness, you can start asking for, well, where are you making the cuts? Because, you know, it would be through attrition at that point. I don't want to say we'd be playing people off, but that would be a reasonable question at that time. Homelessness has been such a problem in the budget and for your staffing. What does it gain us now that we can have no more homeless people?
If you can
Hopefully,
cure
I can say that in
homelessness,
about 5 years.
I'm gonna quit my doctor and come to your office. You can cure homelessness, 'cause that'll cure me of anything I have.
Scott?
Wondering if the job could be posted as temporary contingent on funding, is that?
Nobody take it.
Yeah,
And the reason for that, the temporary definition makes it so that the benefits aren't available for that position. So as soon as we add temporary to it, it's not a full-time, so it doesn't receive benefits.
Oh,
Okay, so you had a motion on the floor, we had a second, is there any further discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
So I do have two other options. The first one is, I looked at a life insurance policy as an option for employees from Mass Mutual. And, basically, I feel like it's a good option to offer to employees. It's just, again, an option of life
That's no
insurance.
cost to the county.
No
That's all
cost to the
about.
county. And I'm just asking that we can move forward with offering that option of life insurance.
And this is a vendor we already use.
We do not, it's through Mass Mutual, but again, it's kind of a planning with Aflac. Lisa with Aflac is actually helping out with coordinating with Mass Mutual to have a good plan together that we would roll out in hopefully October. It would be like an open enrollment period, offer it to employees, they could take it or not. Currently, all that we have is the local retirement system does have an ordinary death benefit that once you're on a year, employees would have a death benefit. If, that is up to, let me see, your last year's earnings multiplied by your years of service credit. So there is an option for a death benefit, but the Mass Mutual would offer just the life insurance, which is actually a, it would be a whole life policy too. So again, that would help to supplement your retirement and all of that as an option, so.
So we can leverage our ability as a municipal employer to give a non-cost benefit out of ours to the employees, give them an option.
Right.
They may not other.
Do other counties do it?
Believe so.
There are other areas that offer life insurance.
And do you have enough staff time in your office to manage that?
We do it now.
For other things.
We do it now. This is new vendor.
Right.
We've been doing life insurance for years.
You know, with Colonial.
Colonial, and we had standard.
Our old vendor pulled out. They're no longer with.
So this replaces that vendor.
Yeah.
Does that need to be a motion? To
Yes.
move that?
Yes,
Chairman to sign.
so
Yeah. I'll move it.
Ray moves
I'll
it,
second.
Earl seconds. Any discussion? Yes.
Is there anything out there that says we have to look at other insurance companies or we can just go straight to this one?
I think we can just choose the one
It's-
that we,
It's no county document. So.
Right.
Oh,
We're not-
okay.
We're just.
Yep. Good question.
Any further discussion? Not all in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed, carried.
and the last item is a handbook change, which is on the back of your, handout. It's the section of the leave for cancer screening. So currently, an employee is entitled to 4 hours of cancer screening on an annual basis. And the proposed handbook change is to actually give them a full day for a cancer screening due to some of the screenings that we now have that require sedation and things like that. So that we're able to allow them to take the full day, to have that done. So
Didn't the state change their guidelines on that as well?
I'm not sure.
As far as
But
I
would
know,
say
it's
with Besides the sedation and the travel, some may have to go further than.
Yeah, that was a
I'll move that.
16-hour-and-a-half to get here.
Second.
Moved by Cassie, seconded by Dan. Any further discussion?
Does this, be in the handbook change? Is this done here or does that go to?
It's done here.
All in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed, carried. Does anyone else have anything they'd like to bring before the personnel committee at this point in time? If not, please stand adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
July 11th minutes. So moved by second by Sam and Nancy, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried, first thing up, looks like we have Beth Gillis with us. You're not quite ready. Okay, well, you're getting ready, let's do the treasurer report then.
Alrighty, I'll be quick and painless for the first part of the meeting. I can't hear the people say that. But sales tax deposit came in this morning. Thankfully, it's $244,000 up over this time last year. It was $800,000 up year to date over the same time last year. If we stay flat for the rest of the year, we'll break $30 million in sales tax this year. So, very pleased with the numbers. I don't have any crystal ball to tell you where we're headed. Nothing in the economy makes sense. You have severe gains and 10 minutes later you have severe surpluses, and the market's been fairly reactionary, and people get a little nervous with discretionary spending when there's uncertainty. And there's always a weird cycle of events in a presidential election year anyway, so we'll see how that plays out. Things like the announcement of Great Meadow shakes the confidence of your residents a little bit sometimes too, so it'll be interesting to see how we do forward. I am cautiously optimistic that we can at least hold our own, and I would take that as a win. Cash flow wise, we're doing really well. We're actually over a little bit where we were last year in cash. I'll continue to maximize the ICS as much as possible. You can see what our holdings in that account are now. Our interest for just July was $226,000. So I'm actively making sure that we maximize the amount of cash that we have on hand versus what we have invested. So any little bit we can make on the interest side of things is definitely going to be helpful when Brian delivers his budget message coming soon to a theater near you. Mr. Shaw.
Yeah, what did you budget or what was budgeted for interest for this year?
Please hold. Could have had that ready for you because I thought that would come up.
Hopefully it was low.
That's,
We beat it by $1 million last year, and I would like to do even better than that.
I think we probably, I don't know that we went the whole amount, but I know we assumed there would already be some lowering of the rate. There hasn't.
We did anticipate that by now that we would see a drop, and we haven't.
So we should be above whatever it was.
We budgeted $1 million for the year. We're at 744 through July.
halfway, $1.5 million we could end up.
Good.
If it didn't
Well,
drop anymore.
The only,
They're gonna kill it real quick.
September, you're gonna see a drop.
Yeah, that's
Well,
talking
we-
about a 0.5% drop.
you'll start seeing our cash
How much?
holdings drop too, so.
Yeah,
When
it
you-
blows up, you're right.
Towards the end of the year, we write some big checks.
Oh, yeah,
So
we're right for barns too. A lot
we're
of,
gonna, a lot of the barn money that is in the capital construction account will be gone. We have a $5 million retirement bill in December, so.
Now it's gonna be like, we can make the million, what you're telling.
No, we'll make budget.
They're saving it till you.
we'll make budget, but it'll all be
We won't
gone.
have the surplus that we had last year. That's the only,
Right, what was the monthly, 266?
226.
226, so. And we're 1 month, just a little bit over
Right,
1 month,
yeah.
of making our budget numbers.
If it comes in $1.4 million, $1.5 million, I'm good with that.
I just said that, you thought I was over way up, and then 1.5.
I'd like to see it. I've never turned down money, Mr. Chuck. The next part of the report, obviously, is your budget year to date. This is, August 5th or August 8th to August 8th. This year versus last year. General fund's doing a little bit worse, and when I took a look at it, and I'm not gonna get into the whys because I'm not gonna claim that I know, unless the commissioner wants to jump in, but there is a significant swing in some of the social services costs. They were, so you had the number written down, I apologize, bear with me, folks.
Any revenue coming in now? or-
So their expenses are up $3.3 million versus this time last year. Family assistance, social services administration, childcare, there were some specific lines that had some significant cost increases. Now, what I don't know is sometimes it's timing.
The revenue.
We could be a JE ahead of this time last year, so some of it could be timing, but I think that if you've listened to the commissioner in her Health and Human Services, some of our costs are up. Housing, homeless costs are up, childcare costs are up. Those are real increases. So what I was hopefully anticipating is when I flip back to the revenue side, that there would be a corresponding revenue, and the net cost year to year was good. And unfortunately, that
Didn't go to
that is not the case either. So general fund is lagging a little bit behind last year net cost wise. But the financials are still very strong. Cash holdings are good. Our receivables, once we get through the 3-year auction that we're hoping to have in October, we'll get some of those receivables cleared off the books, and that ridiculous deferred revenue entry that we have to do every year off the books. And so it's gonna be a weird budget season, because like, this might be the first time in my career, and I've said this to Brian, this might be the first time in my career it's been a bad budget season during a good fiscal year. Usually when there's a bad budget season, it's because there's a fiscal problem. And there's a problem with our financial standing. This will be the first time in my career we've had a very strong financial standing in an absolutely horrific budget season. Most of which wasn't stuff that we caused, so they're not things that we can fix, unfortunately. But it's gonna be a weird ride this year, because normally, we know the books are bad and we prepare for it. And this year, in the past 2 years, the books have been very strong, and we're still going to have a bad budget season. So it's gonna be an interesting ride, because it's the first time I've seen it. And then the last 2 pages of the report, I always share with you, we get a quarterly distribution from the casino. So that came in this week, so I shared those numbers with you. Mr. Shaw?
And could you help me understand on page 3 of 4, down at the bottom, you've got self-insurance, health insurance for the, I think it's sewer district 2, or both sewer districts, I'm not sure.
No, self-insurance, health insurance is our health insurance.
Now, what caught my eye was numbers that are in parentheses, which is not good, right, for that report?
Right.
The 2.1 million for this year, and it was 1.3 million last year, prior year.
Now,
That
the
was-
2.1 is the budget down. If you want to look at the 4.2, we're doing better than this time last year, even though we're having the only reason that this year looks better is because you sent $1 million over to help our fund out
Twice.
twice. The column you want to look at is where the 1.472 is, Mr. Shaw. Where it says year-to-date transactions, that's the column. That's the actual activity for this year.
Okay.
The 2.1 is what's left in the budget.
Oh, okay. I'm looking, and when I saw the parentheses, I thought that was big.
So the report looks like we're doing great in that fund. The reality is, if you subtract $2 million, we're not. Because that's what you've infused in to keep it. And we've had a couple of weeks of bad claims again, so what we thought we were kind of out of the woods and riding a normal ride, and then we had a couple of bad weeks again, so health insurance is one of those things that it's up for everybody. For those of you that attended the SUNY Adirondack budget meeting, I think they bumped another $500,000 into their health insurance fund. We're all going through the same thing. Health costs are up.
Everybody's experience is the same. And that's the biggest problem with the budget right now, is everything related to our people is what's really driving the budget. So I think we have to look at it this way, that people that we have been able to do without, that we can't fill positions, and there's some that we still have to fill positions, we're gonna have to try to remove some of those empty spots. And the big reason is it's driving our pension costs, it's driving our health insurance costs. So you need to control that, you gotta have a less amount of people. And we were budgeted for so money that every time you add one, it makes those costs go even higher.
But the meeting before this one, we had it.
It's totally paid for.
I mean, it's,
100%.
how do you
But
get
that
around
was-
that problem
Well, right, but that one paid for that paid for all their benefits and their
this
salary.
year?
Yes, and that's why we talked about having it go away. I mean, you're right, but the easiest thing to cut is the 10% that's not mandated. So that'll bring your discussion to, do you want to cut a highway patrol or do you want to cut doing road work? The two things we want to do. So we're gonna have to take a very strategic look at actual individual departments and what we are doing as to what is mandated and what we can curb back on while still getting the services to people. It's gonna be a different look than we've ever had to do before because it's necessitated by the standing we're put in and what we know is coming in the future now.
2000, the board started talking about cutting road patrol. And you couldn't find a seat in the board during board meeting. So, I mean, I went through that too, and that's not gonna happen.
No, but so we have to do a better job of the things that are mandated before we start taking away the things that aren't. It's a different discussion than we've ever had to have.
And again, not that it makes it okay, but we're all going through this. If you look at today's Chronicle, Warren County's asked their department heads to look for 5% cuts. We're all under the same mandates from the state. We're all feeling the same pressures. They're feeling the health insurance costs. We're all getting smacked with retirement and none of us can, my favorite saying, the math isn't mathing. They exceeded their revenues on their holdings and still increased the county's contribution to the retirement system. I cannot for the life of me figure out why. There's absolutely no legitimate reason when you budget 5.6 and earn 11.3, why on the success of a year like that, you raise contributions from the counties. It makes no sense. But it's like a $980,000 cost to Washington County. We're small by comparison to some, so I can't imagine what the retirement hit is for like the Saratoga counties and Albany counties or Nassau.
Or New York State.
To the state in general. I mean, we're small potatoes when you look at statewide, but we're all feeling those same pinches.
I'm sure there's a backstory if we knew it.
And I understand it. I'm sure that there's something that we don't know, but
Do a better job.
as I said earlier, it's gonna be an interesting budget ride this year. Sharpen your pencils. You may want to.
Yes, I guess my question is to the commissioner, so if Great Meadow goes out, when would you anticipate seeing the first group of individuals that they go into unemployment because they're not employed or whatever? When would you think you'd see the first tick up on that volume of assistance people coming in? And taking coupons, or maybe as we get into the heat season.
So you're talking about the employees
Yes.
losing their jobs, how would that impact DSS programs? I think we would see it in our, casework, child welfare side a whole lot more quickly than we'd ever see it in our, income maintenance side. Just the pure fact of them having, unemployment benefits would prevent them from being eligible for our programs. If they have another person in their household that is also working, it would more than likely prevent them from being eligible for our programs. It would really depend on how many children and what, it's really about income levels at that point. I think the stressors that we put on the families because of all of that will be the bigger tick for us than any.
And probably in the new year, you probably won't see it instantly. Right?
Oh, I don't know. I don't have any children in my household. It's a little stressful. Having a husband that works there.
Yeah, no, I meant as far as coming to DSS. You'd expect it would be a little bit of a delay, but not
Both of
much.
them.
Thank you.
Okay, Beth, we're ready for Beth. Are we-
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Thanks for having me. Ready to go, Deb, or you wanna?
Yeah, you got what you got.
You get.
Say, give what you get, you don't get upset.
That's right. Yeah, if you just want to click down the slides on the side. Pretty sure I can see that far. So I just wanted to come and give, actually, can you go to slideshow, Deb, up at the top? No, over right there, yeah. We'll give you an option for full screen.
It's a play from beginning up to the end.
Oh, you know what, down on the bottom right-hand corner. You see all those little icons, there's like 4 little squares, and then the one, oh, thank you, yes, that one. I thought I was doing an excellent job describing how to get there.
Just click on that. and
Yeah, just
go
click
to-
on that, and hopefully that should go to full screen.
go to
Not
that.
working. There we go. Only because I can't read that far away without big print. So I'm Beth Gillis, I'm the Executive Director of the Lake Champlain Lake George Regional Planning Board. So I'm just here to talk about some of the things that we've been up to in 2024, both regionally and within Washington County. So I'll just kind of go down some of the topic areas we've been working on. We've been working a lot on broadband and working a lot with Laura, who has been working a lot on broadband. We've got 2 kind of regional broadband efforts going on. The first, we received $75,000 from Empire State Development Connect All Office to work on the New York State Broadband Challenge. So if you remember back in the beginning of 2023, there was a federal challenge where the internet service providers said, this is where we cover, and all the counties looked at the maps and said, well, we agree or disagree with these, and there was a whole challenge process. New York State did that this year, the beginning of 2024. So now that the federal BEAD money has been allocated to the states, New York State decided that it wanted to do its own challenge. And so they provided the regional planning boards across the state with funding to be able to do that. So we hired Tectonic to go through all of the mapping. There's federal mapping, there's state mapping, there's privately purchased mapping that we got, and to consolidate those. We ended up filing challenges in all 5 of our counties. We ended up filing 390 provider challenges in Washington County alone, where either providers said that they provided to a place, and we don't think that they do, a BSL, it's called a broadband serviceable location, or that they don't, and we think it is covered, because when the providers bid on grant areas later this year, it's a requirement that they have to cover at least 90% of the BSLs in that grant area. So we just want to make sure that it's as accurate as possible. So we did that. And then we also provided draft grant areas. So the way the state is going to break up the federal funding for broadband is they took all the counties, they used major roads to break it into 1 or 2 areas. To say this internet service providers is what you have to bid on if you want to build out fiber in this grant area. We really didn't like the way the state did it, so we did our own and submitted. They had a whole process for us to be able to submit our opinions and our maps. So we ended up doing, I think, 4 areas, Laura, in Washington County. I think the state had done 2. Just to say the way that the state did it, there was little possibility that an ISP was actually going to bid on an area that big. So we thought that there was a better, more strategic way. So we worked with Laura and Tectonic to get that done and put that in. So as where we're at right now is Connect All has all of this information. They have all of the challenges. The internet service providers then had time to refute the challenges. I haven't seen any results from that. And I know they're still going through the draft grant areas. So the anticipation is that the RFP to the internet service providers for the BEAD areas will be out fall-ish this year. We'll see if they stick to that. We have been discussing interest in the BEAD program with various providers. It does seem like the larger providers are going to be the ones that are going to be more equipped to bid on areas versus some of the smaller providers. But the Connect All office did want me to remind everybody, all the counties, that right now it's too early to agree to support a BEAD application. So as part of the scoring criteria for ISPs for the BEAD applications, if they have a letter of support from a municipality or the county saying, yes, we want this internet service provider in this area, they get additional points on their grant application. But they don't want anybody agreeing to that or confirming that they're gonna support one provider over another right now. Next. So we're also, oh, go ahead.
My head.
Yeah. One more broadband one. So we got money from the state to do all of the state's things. We also got $440,000 from the Northern Border Regional Commission to do broadband planning across the county. So we're finishing up, again, working with Tectonic, a regional deployment plan. This is the money that helped us do a lot of the mapping for the underserved and unserved BSLs. What we're really trying to achieve through this is figure out how we regionally deploy fiber and fixed wireless. So we know in our topography, and it's not as bad in Washington County as it is when you get into the high peaks area of our region, but fiber is not getting everywhere. It's not economically feasible. It's just not going to happen. The internet service providers aren't going to do it. So we know that there are going to be areas where we're going to have to look at a fixed wireless technology. And so we've got Tectonic working on rough order magnitude cost estimates for those individual build outs. What we're really trying to do is just be proactive and get ahead of the fact that we know that fiber is not going to go there. So how much is it going to cost? What do we think we have to do? And then how do we think we're going to pay for it? Is what we're working on right now. So if they end up being within any towns, once we have those done, I'd like to have individual conversations with the supervisors just to explain and see, what potential possibilities there could be. I will say that the federal government was 100%, you have to build fiber, and I think they're maybe easing up, at least maybe, and I can't speak for the federal government, but they're hearing us that fiber everywhere is not probably going to happen. So we'll see what happens with the funding programs. But we also have money in that grant to do pre-development and make ready work for fiber and fixed wireless installations. We haven't committed to paying for any of those yet. I really want to see what comes out of our deployment plan first. But we also have funding to write grant applications for various state and federal funding programs that come out for broadband. So that's part of that $440,000. Cell, we were just awarded $250,000 from MBRC and USDA to do a regional cellular plan. So we are partnering with the New York State Connect All office on this. So what we're going to do is drive test data in the 5 counties. We're also going to purchase third-party data. There's a couple companies that collect third-party data on cell availability. What we want to do is QA/QC that with the drive test data and see if it really is that accurate. Because if it is, then we can stop paying to do drive tests every couple of years and just use that third-party data. So we'll see if that works out. We're also going to develop a GIS interface to look at strategic macro tower placement based on where there are still dead spots. Realizing again with our topography in the region, we can't solve everything with a macro tower. We're also going to develop small cell cellular projects. We secured $1.5 million for Hamilton County to do a pilot project with small cell. Usually small cell is used in more populated areas just to boost the signal. It hasn't ever really been used on a linear fashion, but we're going to see if it works on a linear roadway. And so as you're driving down a major travel corridor, can you just bump from little cell, the little cell one to the next and get complete coverage? We don't even have a contract from the feds yet. So years, unfortunately. And then we're also going to try to work with the state to identify public-private partnerships for deployment. So any infrastructure really funded by the state or the federal government needs to remain publicly owned. And so we're going to try to figure out a better way to be able to have publicly owned cell towers or small cells. But then we have to work with the private providers to be on it. So it's just, it's going to take some time to figure that out. But luckily we've got the Connect All office with us. They have connections to the industry that we don't have at the regional planning board. So I think it's going to be a really good project. Really excited. This was just awarded like a couple weeks ago. So we're not, I filed the paperwork for a contract.
Would any of this tie back to assisting in establishing some connectivity to those remote areas, not to replace broadband.
Yeah, so if you're gonna do fixed wireless, right, you have to
Yeah.
have something to put it on,
Right.
and you have to have a fiber backbone to it and all of that, yeah, so. We'll definitely have our broadband work, especially those areas that we think that fixed wireless is really the only option. We'll have those established, and so then we can look to see if we can maybe couple some kind of deployment effort.
You hear some more about that in a few minutes.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I jumped
No,
ahead on the
you're
side.
fine.
As I'm gonna tell you, it's interesting because, I mean, just going up Route 22, you could go in and out of service.
Yep.
10 times, just, that's how much fixed wireless in a house, but your phones now are mobile.
Yep.
So people are on the roads using their phones and they happen out of multiple providers.
Yep.
Is there ever any chance that they're gonna actually look at the roads?
So that's the small cell part of it. So a small cell is basically like a little cell box that you would put on a telephone pole.
Right.
And it's got a range that it covers, and if there are enough of them on a road, you should be able to just jump from one to the next and be able to stay in continuous cellular coverage. That's the hope. We're not sure it's gonna work, but
Didn't they do that at the Olympics up in the Adirondacks?
those were cows. Yeah, so those are a lot larger mobile units that you kind of just plop down. These would be fixed to the top of an electric pole is all we've got going along our roads.
Right.
That's the hope, again.
Dresden.
It sounds really good in theory, right?
I think you see them down, like if you go like there's a shore.
Yeah.
And you see them in the urban areas.
Yep,
They work there.
yep,
And it's continuous service.
And the new towers should help too, that they're all planning on constructing right now.
yep.
That should help on the 22 corridor, because the 22 corridor is surprises it's that bad.
Yeah.
But I have lots of cows and I still have.
I'm getting saying.
You sure?
Yeah, say,
You gotta put the right software.
That's right, you don't have the right software on your house.
gotta say.
And turkey.
You also have to make your phone one more.
Dresden needs a few cows.
Yeah.
So far, I think you showed us $775,000 worth of grants.
Yep.
To collect data and develop plan,
Yep.
basically overall. When does that have to be submitted, all that? And when would the results of all your work be known? Timeframe?
So the broadband money runs out 12/25. The cell money we just got, so we'll have 3 years from 10/1, yeah, new federal fiscal year. So that grant will be 10/1/24 to 27 to 9/30/27. But in the housing I'll talk about, we had 3 years to do that plan and we did it in 8 months. So just because we have 3 years doesn't mean we're gonna drag it out for 3 years.
But then
Trying to
actually
get
getting the
stuff
work done this is just
Right.
the planning,
Right, this is just the planning, but one of the things that
like 10 years.
is gonna happen and there
So
are.
3 years out, that's the bottom. line.
Yes, the bottom line is 3 years out,
Because
but there
even
are,
when you submit it, then they're gonna review it and they might want changes.
right, I mean, that's,
This could just go on and on.
and that's the downfall of using grants to pay for things, right? Cause you write the grant, then you sit and wait for it to be awarded, and then you sit and wait for a contract, and then, you know what I mean, like it's.
It's kind of like our flood maps. Does anybody remember those?
Oh, you had to bring that up. But there are implementation efforts that are going to happen simultaneously because we're already talking to Connect All about potential cell sites even before having done this planning because the counties know where their dead spots are. So if there's anything we can do to move any of those along, we'll do that as well.
Finally, get to the next one.
Or not. Oh, go back, yeah,
Go.
too far. Nope, sorry.
No, you were.
No, you're
going.
good, sorry.
Yeah.
All right, so housing. We finished our housing plan, as you all know. So out of the 35 strategies, we've really latched on to a couple of them that we're working on. So I know the housing study itself did not include Washington County, but a lot of the implementation efforts that we're doing right now do. So right now, my staff's working on a technical assistance guide, a zoning best management practices for communities, to talk about zoning and what zoning could be utilized, to help workforce housing. This effort is really, aimed more towards the developed areas, and the hamlets within our region. You've probably all heard about the state's pro-housing initiative, if you want to be eligible for some of the discretionary fundings. I know, Allison Sam, I think she's working with you guys right now on all of that, so.
Been submitted.
Yep, if you're interested in becoming a pro-housing community, please let us know and we can help you through all the paperwork and get that submitted to the state. We were also part of the revamp of the North Country RADC's plan. Everyone had to redo their plans this year. The North Country decided to add an entire chapter on housing, which we helped them write. For pre-development, so we're kind of treating workforce housing, and then let me just say, because I don't talk to you guys about workforce housing all the time. When we're talking about workforce housing, we are talking about the 80 to 200% AMI. It is your people who work at Stewart's, they drive your buses, they're your daycare providers, they're the people working in the community that are getting priced out of all of our communities everywhere you go across our region. So one of the things that we're really working on right now is pre-development. We're basically treating pieces of property like industrial parks. So we're getting all of the permitting and the zoning and making sure that the infrastructure is all set so that it's ready to be developed for the type of housing that the community wants to see there. So we did get $300,000 partnering with Adirondack Roots through the Adirondack Smart Growth Grant. We've got 3 sites in Essex County, 1 in Hamilton, going with that program, but I have a bigger grant I'll talk about in a minute that will include Washington County. And one of the other things is we received a $500,000 grant from NBRC to put a workforce housing revolving loan fund together. So you all know we have an existing small business revolving loan fund, but we can't do housing. Apartments are included in that with that money. So we got additional funding to be able to do long-term rental housing. This is to put new units online. It is not to just rehab existing units that people are in. It's to rehab or build units that people are not in. So we've got the management plan done. The committee has been put together. NBRC has approved everything. We just have to get an application out and out into the world. But what we're really looking for are in our villages or developed areas, where are there vacant buildings where long-term rental units could be put in? And so we're looking to give low interest financing to get that done.
Who owns the low-income rental units when it's all said and done?
It's a private entity.
A developer or?
Right, yeah. Yeah, if someone bought a building,
Or next one.
if someone bought a building in downtown
And-
Salem that was vacant and wanted low interest financing.
What
to renovate.
percentage of the cost of that development is borne by the taxpayers and what percent is borne by the developer?
So this is not like the programs that you're thinking from HCR where
I'm
they're.
not thinking of any,
Okay.
I'm just trying to understand this all.
No, this is a private entity, and even an individual person creates an LLC, buys a building, the building's vacant. They want some low interest loan to renovate those spaces to turn into long-term rental apartments.
So in
That's
other
what
words,
this is
there's no funding other than, you're probably making up some interest shortfalls, is what you're.
Right, yeah.
Interest. That's all, just interest. Now, on that picture up there, oh, I'm sorry, John. On that picture up there, that's basically what you would call, years ago, they called it cluster housing development. Is that what that is?
Yeah, so that's an image from one of the pre-developments is actually being built in Keene by Adirondack Roots. But yeah, so they're putting, you do the 4 units close together surrounded by trees so that it maintains the.
And that is the
Forest
same
look,
thing,
but-
the only help the developer is getting is low interest loan?
That all we're doing is the pre-development, so getting grants to pay for like the surveying, the environmentals, all of that stuff.
Oh, so
but we're
that's
not
all
paying for the
being
building.
funded also.
John?
I've had my question history.
Did you? Yeah, so Adirondack Roots is actually a nonprofit developer. They're the ones that are building those units in Keene, which is why we've partnered with them.
What is a nonprofit developer?
A developer that makes money and you don't know about it.
No, I mean.
I'm being realistic.
All these
No, so
are nice little catchphrases, but what is a nonprofit developer?
It's that the money that comes in from selling the units gets turned around to build more units. It's just a revolving, it's not, they're not trying to make annual income off of these things. Like
Every
a
little
for
way you
profit.
make it's really bad.
15 to 20% they take off.
After you made a great example.
Yes.
And all the
Yeah.
costs
Yeah,
associated with it.
so it's 15 to 20% of any revenue generated goes to admin, depending on the organization. And then the remaining amount goes back into the program to keep it going.
Yeah.
Other than you might need $100,000 truck. And that would be
That's
written
part
up,
of
as-
the, that's,
right,
but that should be coming out of the admin.
out of the admin?
Yeah.
That would.
But really, it's set up because you can't get people to invest because
Right,
with
absolutely.
all these opportunities, this is their only way, especially in the park, to make some of these things happen because there's so many forces fighting against them.
Absolutely right. One of my
That's what's behind it.
One of my favorite catchphrases now is if it were easy and profitable, somebody would be doing it. So it's neither one of those things.
Right.
So
We've
how
taken
can,
capitalism out of the whole program.
yes, so how can we get what we need? We go to the nonprofit realm. But any for-profit developers that want to go build workforce housing anywhere in my region, feel free. Like, we're not against that at all. But we're trying to move the needle a little bit quicker. I've been all over talking about housing. The town of Plattsburgh held a housing forum. I was also part of a meeting of the minds at the Adirondack Foundation to talk about it, and I also presented on our housing plan at the Adirondack Park Agency, all in the last couple months.
So you're a road warrior.
Earlier this year, we were talking about housing down in Albany. I met with the Lieutenant Governor, Assemblywoman Carrie Warner, various other elected officials. We also had a meeting with the HCR Commissioner to talk about our housing study and the issues with workforce housing in upstate New York. And this is the big exciting one. So we submitted a congressionally directed spending application to Congresswoman Stefanik's office for housing, doing pre-development, but also working with the nonprofit Adirondack Roots for construction and rehabilitation of new and existing units throughout our region. We asked for $3 million. She chose it as one of the 15 projects that she moved forward to appropriations. And in that process, her team worked to add an additional $2 million. So that was passed through appropriations at $5 million. So we're really excited about that. Still got a couple more approvals to go through. But we feel really fortunate to have been chosen, and we think that it's going to make it all the way through. Her team's been amazing in trying to get us this money, so we're really excited about that. So this is going to be for all 5 of our counties. We were asked to talk about housing at Adirondack Day down at the Legislative Office Building. We came up with a Chutes and Ladder Adirondack housing game. That was silly because we figured no one was just going to stop and talk to us about boring housing. And so you can see there's Assemblyman Jones, Assemblyman Simpson, Gary Douglas. We had Senator Breslin stop by and hang out with us for a little bit. So it was a good day. On to transportation. So we are in the middle of our Safe Streets for All project. We are doing 2 plans. One is Warren, Washington, and Town of Monroe, which is the AGFTC MPO area. And then we're also doing a separate plan for Hamilton, Essex, Clinton. This is a $1 billion per year program, federal program, but to access the implementation funding, you have to have a plan. So we got funding to do the plan. We're working on wrapping that up by the end of the year. There's a QR code for a survey. We've got like an online portal where you can drop a pin and just leave a little information on any safety issues that you have within your communities. If there's a road that you think the speed limit's too high, or there's a certain intersection that's been very dangerous, we want to know so that we can include it in that thing.
Yeah, I believe your team.
Oh, you saw that one right
Did
there.
it? Yeah, they've been all over the place.
I've got that.
But
Oh, yeah.
also, consult with John, talk a lot of-
Yep.
So if you hear about Streets for All, please answer it and answer this question. It'll help us develop a plan. Hopefully get some funding in our small communities.
So to Washington County specific, so infrastructure projects that we're working on doing the grant administration, a lot of project admin. The Canal Side Energy Park, we secured all the grant funding for that from 3 sources totaling almost $6.3 million. The Washington County Fair grounds, we did not secure that grant, but we've been helping with grant administration and project admin on that. We got the grants for Sewer District 1 and 2 for various projects, and we're admitting that. We received $30,000 from National Grid for a business park feasibility study in the town of White Creek that we finished up a few months ago. And just announced, we secured $350,000 for the Village of Granville for a water supply expansion project.
What do you do with your spare time?
Yeah, I'm not even done yet. Look at this one. Community planning. So we got a grant for the town of Salem comp plan, also the town and village of Argyle comp plan. We're in the middle of a complete streets plan with the village of Cambridge. Just finished up the village of Granville's Main Street Technical Assistance Grant. We helped secure the countywide resiliency planning grant. Did a drinking water source protection program. Oh, I was told by my staff to talk about this. Drinking water source protection plan. If you have a public drinking water source, the state needs you to go through this process. If you were around 25, 30 years ago, DOH was doing, I think they were called like swaps. Now it's called DWSP2. Our team does them for free because we get other funding from the state to do it. And we're looking for a new community right now. We just finished up Poland. So,
I was gonna say,
Sue,
is Lake George qualified as that?
we did Lake George. We did Argyle.
I'm talking about the lake itself.
Yeah, we did the lake. So the Lake George has 6 community water systems. So what are considered community water systems? They were the first DWSP2 we did. So that one's done. We just finished up, we did Argyle. We're finishing up Bolton right now. Sue, I'm pretty sure they've got their site set on you, so.
That would be great.
We've got a green infrastructure plan going on in Hudson Falls, and then we actually also were awarded awarded $150,000 for a community outreach program in Lake Champlain. So that'll be in Whitehall and Granville. Other projects, I was just down at the DPW. We secured the $527,000 for roadside erosion program, another $500,000 for culvert replacements. That's county and town roads. We got $100,000 for the county to partner with 2 towns to buy some new winter road maintenance equipment. And then Allison from my office secured a grant to look at the hemlocks in the Lake George watershed, because with the hemlock woolly adelgid coming, it's going to have a detrimental effect on the forested portions of the Lake George watershed because they're mainly hemlock. And ones we just did in 2024, so we just submitted these. Again, working with the sewer district on a big separation project, cover for the town of Salem, some winter road maintenance equipment for the county, comp plans for Hampton and Cambridge and White Creek, and then also trying to help Granville get some money for their pickleball courts.
Yeah. They're done.
Oh, are they? Nice.
They're open today.
And then the other thing that we're doing, so in 2018, we released a non-point source pollution plan for Lake Champlain and had 319 projects identified, and we have implemented a lot of those and got funding to do those. So we're updating that plan. So if you're in the Lake Champlain watershed and you have projects, roadsides, culverts, DPWs, anything having to do with water quality, please reach out to my staff, or I think that's the survey QR code, but we've also got a project form included in that plan. And that's how we get stuff funded, right? You put it in the plans and then we write a grant and say, we thought about it, we put it in this plan, now fund it. That's the process. And then just quick on our loan funds. So far this year, we've approved 2 loans, denied 1. I actually now have 2 in underwriting, and our small business technical assistance program. 7 are underway, 9 are complete. We had 1 in Essex County cancel out, but we have 2 going in Washington County right now. I think that's it. Oh, no, the conference. Come to our conference. It's in Lake Placid on October 3rd. We're doing a morning and then there's an optional lunch and we're doing what we're called speed dating with federal funders. So we're gonna have federal representatives there for you to talk to about your projects. If you want to talk to EDA, if you want to talk to Lake Champlain Basin Program, if you want to talk to NBRC about funding for stuff in your town, they'll be there. You'll be able to talk to those, all of them in the afternoon. And that's it.
Any questions?
That was long, guys, sorry.
We're actually here though for.
So I'm gonna offer an explanation and an apology, especially to Chairman Clary. So normally you would have seen something like this at Ag and Planning. But there's a couple of things that I need from you, and it seemed very disingenuous of me to ask you for them without a real reminder of what the agency does. I'm very happy that all 3 of the new supervisors are here because I don't think that any of them, unless they've worked directly with Beth, have a full comprehension of what this agency does for the 5 counties. So the reason you saw this at finance and not at Ag and Planning was timing, my lack of planning. So I apologize in advance for that. So the first thing that I want from you, or I'm respectfully asking from you, we passed a budget in the American Relief Plan capital project to take $580 some odd thousand worth of the broadband money and institute a grant program that would allow in round 1 up to $1,000 to somebody who wanted to connect, say, to like Starlink. Or so we have identified between Laura and Beth, we have identified under and non-served addresses in Washington County. We want to take an attempt with some of this broadband money that we retained to institute a grant program where we can work with homeowners and get them connected, right? So we can't do some of the big projects, but if somebody wanted to connect with Starlink, we could do that quite easily, right? That would be round 1. Those monies that aren't spent, we would open up a little broader in round 2. So I need 2 things from the committee, please, because we have that end of the year deadline to commit the funds. So I need to kind of start the path now. We need, I would like a resolution for the chairman to authorize to sign a contract with the Lake Champlain Lake George Regional Planning Board to administer that program for us. They have the staff, the know-how, and the infrastructure already built to do this for us so that we don't have to do this in-house or bring somebody in special to do it in-house. We would give them 10% admin as part of the fee for administering the program for us. And because we're selecting them because of their skill level, I would also need a waiver from procurement. So it would be a resolution to waive the procurement process because of their specialty in this area, and an authorization of the chairman to sign a contract, which we will develop with Beth if it comes out of this committee.
I'll make that motion. So
I'll second it.
These are resolutions A and B. I don't know the part it's in there about,
So it only came to me about 30 seconds into her conversation.
and you need that with both of them? Both of them need the waiver? Is that what you're saying?
I'm probably gonna end up having to put that language in, well, yes, I'm probably gonna have to put that language in both
And so
because of the size of the contract.
that's what's gonna be in there when it comes to the full board.
There'll be one more resolved in there.
Right, and so that's what will come out of this committee that you'll get at your Friday.
So what that does is it gives us the ability to sit down with Beth and develop that program, develop the contract. And, because there's no sense developing a contract if you're not gonna be in favor of it. So
And we can't commit to funds,
they're gone.
they're gone. So
They'll go somewhere else. We aren't gonna lose.
well, yeah, but for their intended
Right.
purpose. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so resolution A, do I have a motion?
Here.
Yeah. There.
Resolution B,
What's
We're
that?
talking about,
You didn't vote.
Talking about B, not A.
I was
I
just
went
going
out
in
of
order, but,
So do we
I
have,
went out of order.
well, we'll start with B. So, there we are.
is this fitting into what Daryl and I moved first time? Or do we have to take that off the table?
That's what you and Daryl.
You moved what I asked.
Right,
It's just not what's written.
right, and the language will be in.
Yeah, there's one more resolve.
I just want to make sure we're all.
All right, so my motion is to move resolution B with a amended resolve that discusses the exemption to the procurement policy.
I'll second.
Is there any more discussion on that? Go ahead.
You have the amount in here, but should it say up to that amount? Or is it that you,
That's the actual
once you put
amount.
it into it?
That's the amount you've budgeted in the capital.
Well, I know we budgeted it, but you have to get people to apply for it, right?
We're gonna give the
We have
money
2
to them
years.
and they're gonna give it to the people that apply for it.
What happens to unused money if you don't have enough people to apply
So
for it?
They'll
That's all I'm
send
trying.
it.
We'll be working with the agency. There'll be enough lead time that we'll pull back any unspent money and reutilize it. So we've had that discussion. We have a
Okay.
plan for any money that doesn't get out the door.
Because you might not.
And that will be in the contract. What happens on what date? We have a date specific that we'll pull back money.
Yeah, just as long as, I mean, it's clear that
But again,
on the unspent money doesn't just get left there.
no, sir.
Yeah.
Mr. Rosell?
You pull back the unspent money and we have a place to spend it apparently. It's gotta be used, right?
Yes.
So if it's not used in one spot, you pull it back, we've gotta use it in another. Do we have a spot?
Well, yes.
It'll already usually spent at that point.
We're hoping there isn't any, but if there is a plan B to get it back out the door. Mr. Hogan was next.
Can this be made to be specific for Washington County residents?
The contract will be yes, sir. We had that in verbal discussions, but it will be in writing as well.
Has the criteria been established yet for eligibility or is that part of the contract as well?
Anybody in Washington County that is unserved is the first pass. And Laura has talked to you about those residences already. There's 200 in some odd.
400.
1,200. Oh, I was way up.
That's
That's why these people.
That's why
are
you're getting the number. Your math wasn't mathing.
My math isn't math. I'd like to think there's only 200, but there's not.
So basically, there'll be a list, and if somebody calls up.
The list exists. Laura knows who they are. She was part of the ARPA team that wanted this funding to happen, so.
Yeah.
We've been working closely with Laura and everybody wants this to be a success, so. Supervisor?
I'm really thankful that we're at this point, that we're actually looking at these people that we've been identifying now, it seems like for 3 years. And you're actually gonna have a way to connect and join the rest of the world.
Well,
So thanks for all your help, Ben, thanks for all your help, Laura.
we couldn't do what we wanted to do, so this is
Right.
something.
And they actually always have had this opportunity. This is our way of helping fund it. The opportunity's always been there. I have people in Hebron that are on Starlink that could be on Slick. I mean, it's all, the opportunity's always been there. It's just how we help fund it.
The question is probably more towards Laura on unserved versus it's cheaper. It was too expensive, in rural areas of Washington County, a lot of people have real long driveways. And so it gets real expensive to have that brought into their home. So they chose not to do it because they felt they couldn't afford it because it was gonna be a fee to run it. Now with Starlink and this, they can afford it. So are they still, is there a cost to make them underserved or unserved versus it's affordable now because of the grant? I don't know if I've said a lot.
I know what you're saying.
Mr. Shaw, if it's any consolation too, if I understand your
I
question,
know.
round two, which we anticipate there will be a round two.
Yes.
I don't think the whole 500,000 will go out in the first flight. Round two will be much more broad and you can help some of those people. Some of those ones that have an $18,000 cost to get line run, we could open up to them in round two.
But they won't be open in round one.
Round one is gonna be up to $1,000 to get people connected. I don't anticipate that we'll get 500 people to choose that option at $1,000. If we do, that's fantastic. I'll put that in the win column all day. And I think right now, Starlink is maybe even half of that number, so you might be able to serve even more people in round one. We just want to be prepared that if round one doesn't deplete the funds, let's open it up and then serve some of the businesses and things that weren't included in round one, which could be some of those connections.
So we're not saying Starlink or something else, we're saying to improve your service up to a certain download speed and upload speed. Here's $1,000, find a solution. If it fits in our guidelines for the upload and download, then we'll fund it for you, whether it be extending, someone needs $1,000 to go up to extend it from where this drop dead point is from Slick to where their house is. And they want to put another $2,000 or $3,000 themselves. That way $1,000 from us and $2,000 from them. So it's just helping them do it.
And again, the reason you're seeing this in August is I need your approval first before we sit down. The devil's in the details. So before we sit down and negotiate with Beth on what the program's gonna look like, I need you to approve the program. So that's why we're here in August, because I have that December deadline in front of me.
Brian, how much though on the bus?
I think it's around $692.
$5 to $550.
What's the monthly thing? So we're paying that for people as well? I just.
No, it was just the startup, whatever it costs them to get initiated, they pay all their monthly fees.
What happens if people don't take advantage of it because it's expensive? Well, $1,200 a year to have that service. And they sponsor left over, what happens then?
We go to phase B.
We're trying to leave enough time, supervisor, to redirect the money if it's unspent.
I think it'd be unspent.
There's a chance.
$1,200 a year, Starline, who's gonna do that?
Most of them are doing it now.
I understand some are doing it now, but.
No, but I mean, on regular internet, it's already 70 to 80 to 90 bucks a year now. You think there's a big difference in that? What did yours cost? No, honestly,
I get what Dana's saying.
what are you
Dana's
saying that yours
there's
is costing?
people out there who can't afford it already, so
Correct.
even if you put it into their house, they can't afford to pay the monthly fee. So it doesn't do any good to put it in their house, they can't afford to keep it. That's what,
That's
right?
what it's doing.
But if we get 200 to 1,200 served, isn't that okay? I mean, if we can connect people, that's a win, I think.
Something so hardware is a good cost. It's not.
So the question is what I'm hearing is concerned going along, should we consider in the program saying you got 600 for this, you got X number of dollars for help subsidize your first year? Would that be something you want to build in the program?
But that will come later. That wouldn't come right now. That's
So
the
that's
point.
the first round.
Yeah.
We do go from the state.
We'd have to talk about that.
We have a-
Right.
let's-
I'm not covered monthly check.
Easy to have another card.
I agree, there's a percentage, where this is a barrier to entry. There's a percentage that the initial cost is a barrier to entry. Sustaining it, there's another percentage that people that can't afford. to sustain.
Well, John's saying, what you would pay for his spectrum bill.
No, that's why I don't think we go there.
So wait a second. What does Spectrum cost a month? That was where I was trying to get to. What Spectrum cost a month?
That's close to 90 a month.
It's what? It's what?
Just for the internet? Yeah.
It's how much?
It's
90 a month.
close to that.
That's what I thought. They're all in the same.
You know, we want the
That's where I was
high
going.
speed, you're gonna pay $90 a month. Slick's up there too.
But there are homes that can't afford $90 a month. for
Right.
Internet service, and the cost benefit analysis, that family is, I'm not gonna hook up. Even if you give me, so we're gonna get a percentage of that, we know.
Yeah,
that.
Mr.
We know.
I think it's looking up, it's $300 for the equipment, $120 a month for the service. Sorry, so that's.
There's they
And
run specials, sometimes it's a special, sometimes it's up $600 a month.
And again, we're just trying to give people an opportunity to connect. Whether they take it or not is up to them. We can't wait another 5 years for the state. And this doesn't preclude them from connecting with the state when the state finally does come through. This is to get something off the ground now.
But it would have to be just that server, it could be any server.
Right.
I
They
only-
can go with anybody they
I
want.
only use Starlink as an example. This is open to any connection it's defined as broadband.
But just the equipment
Yes,
or.
getting connected.
Installation.
Up to $1,000?
In round one. Yes.
I got a motion.
Yes.
Yeah. So is there any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
The second one, which I guess should have been the first one, because I got.
Resolution A.
Resolution A. Again, I have a contract expiring with the Regional Planning Board in December. So before I sit down with Beth and negotiate the contract to see if there's any changes required, I need to come to you to make sure that we can still do it. Right, so as many of you know, and some of you might not, we have an accounting contract with the Regional Planning Board since 2018. So there's an amount of bookkeeping services that we provide them. We do their accounts payable, send the checks out, and then we bill them back once a month. It gives them an opportunity to kind of bill back their funders. They're heavily grant driven at the Regional Planning Board. So this relationship has been extremely beneficial since 2018. It's working fine on my end. I hope it's working fine on Beth's end. And with that contract expiring in December, I'm looking to get a resolution to authorize the chairman to sign a new 3-year agreement with the planning board to continue that service for another 3 years. And it would also require a waiver from procurement because.
Moved by Sam, second by John. Any discussion?
That I have no concerns about anything you're doing, but my question is, do we get a financial report, annual at budget time or anything to know where all their money is going? And since we're actually signing contracts and spending money, it's like I always ask the fire departments in our town, you know, what are you doing with your money? And basically they give us an annual report and a budget. Do we get that
So
from
there's
yours?
There's a couple answers to that
I
question.
kind of forgot.
So there's a couple answers to that question. They have a budget that you can.
Give
be
me the
provided.
good one.
They have a budget you can be provided.
Yeah.
I
It's
do their
provided to the
annual,
budget officers and everything,
the budget officer has.
and the treasurers.
Yep. And I do their annual financial report to the comptroller, so it's easy to give that to you. Beth also does an annual report that's very well done, that she can make available to you. And actually, if you go to their website, if I remember correctly, it's a PDF that you can actually view on their website. So their financials are readily available to you. If you want a formal presentation, we can absolutely arrange this.
I don't need a presentation, just I need a copy of it.
Yeah,
Look at it,
so
take home.
I can get it to you and you can get it yourself from their website. So either is
Okay.
available to you.
Also remember, we audit their bills.
The bills that we pay on their behalf come through our as an out of.
You answered my question.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you.
Thank you for your patience.
I just have one comment, before we please. So they've been very helpful with several of the towns with the pro-community housing applications. And for those towns that may be looking at that, it's fairly painless for the town to do what they need to do. They finish it up and they submit it. So I want to thank you for that, for what you've done.
I haven't come to leverage your services as much. I probably need to do better at doing that. So, right after I respond to all the surveys.
Yes.
Once we can commute to your town. Maybe we'll be.
Yeah, that's right. Well, so we have a lot of water quality things going in Lake Champlain and Lake George that we want to do. So like
Yeah, I worked with this
stormwater
for a long
runoff.
time.
Yeah.
Very well.
So after that presentation, I'm gonna go right through the resolutions in order now, and then somebody will have to remind me if I leave anything out on the agenda, so that we don't miss anything, but I think that we chose to move along and. Yeah.
That's right. I was gonna vote
Serving
yes.
nachos?
Resolution C. So this is moving public health money. That's coming in, making sure we can spend it.
Move it.
Moved by Sam, second by Dana. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Resolution D, public health, same idea.
Move it.
Second.
By Daryl, second by Dan. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. E, create a capital project for the replacement of the Goodman Road Bridge.
I'll move it.
By Sam, second by. Second by somebody. Got it. Any discussion on that? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. F is capital project 134, Gray Lane Bridge over Meadowy.
That.
Moving. Move by John, second by Daryl. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. G is event capital project 128, Marchicelli Bridge project.
Move it.
Moved by Daryl, second by Mr. Fisher. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. H is public safety budget to carry over unspent emergency management performance funds. Got it. Moved by Sam, second by Daryl. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. I is grants tourism prevention grant money, moving that. Move that. Moved by Mr. Fisher, second by Daryl. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. J is unspent hazard mitigation grant. Moved by Sam, second by Daryl. Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. K, barn repair and replacements.
Moved by.
Plus highway barn. Moved by Sam, second by Daryl. Any discussion? Yes.
I just wanted to make sure that everybody saw I hope the budget impact statement explains why the number in the resolution isn't the number you saw at Public Works.
Yeah. Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. L is the county clerk budget for local governments grant. Moved by Patsy, second. Daryl, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. M is real property to add tax bills to ImageMate online.
I have an update.
Very good.
I'll move it. Who's gonna second?
I'll second it.
Cassie, discussion.
I just have to give John Kelly the A-OK and he can get the school tax bills on that we are printing in the next couple of weeks.
Perfect.
If that's okay with it.
That's great news. Very good.
So I'll give him the A-OK.
As soon as the resolution passes.
All in
Yes,
fa-
it's-
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Okay, N is Department of Social Services. Budget amendment to transfer funds from contractual to equipment line for the purchase of a high capacity scanner to cover the purchase of computers. Move it. By Sam, second. Daryl. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. O is sewer district 1 rehabilitation.
I'll move that.
Moved by Daryl, second by Mr. Fisher. Any discussion there? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. P is to approve the contract with New York State Department of Ag and Markets Administrator for its New York State Petroleum Product Quality Program. Moved by Mr. Fisher, second by Daryl. Any discussion?
Yeah, what does it exactly do?
Your fuel.
Gas stations?
Yeah.
It's for the contract we have with the state and for the money we get, the little couple things we get back.
Gotcha.
Which is.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried.
So that's what it was.
Okay, now tell me what I missed in the agenda.
Maybe farm, federal grant.
You see that 7V, 7 Bravo?
Yep.
165, 285, Family Center Case Management.
So first we have to acknowledge that grant, is what we're,
We're gonna need a budget. somewhere.
right,
At some point.
so we're gonna,
You passed a personnel this morning, didn't you? So
that was one part of it, but the budget's far more than that, right?
Yeah, the budget's 165.
Yeah. The numbers there.
We have to submit a plan to wrap all of the costs into it. And so the question is one of those items that I have no question we'll go through. Another part of it that I'm looking for approval on is to build in a portion of the cost of a mobile office unit that I would split between this federal funding and the foster care ARPA funding.
But
And I would look to build that into this budget. And if there was approval, I would like to then be able to move forward to make that, to put out an RFP or whatever it is that would need to be done.
But if I'm correct, that could only be leased.
So they came through with an answer to me yesterday and recommended lease. I don't know why they made that distinction. It doesn't make sense to me because I don't see that as being sustainable into the future. Today, this afternoon, is the webinar with the state for questions and answers. So hopefully more clarity will come out then.
Yeah.
It's a matter of this timeline. But I'm trying to have this conversation here while this cycle is in place. And I would still be able to submit my budget and my justification, and they could still say yes or no. I could put in, even though just one person recommended lease based on whatever his belief system is, I could still write into it for part of the cost, half of the cost, something like that. And it would still be under the budget that they have allotted for us. Otherwise, I don't know how I'm spending $165,000 with one person.
So the mobile office trailer, we don't have space anywhere in our infrastructure to accommodate, I guess. How much space do you need? Is that a must-have with the program?
No, it is not. I have been observing what our workers are doing currently. So the part of this that is about the family center case management is that we have workers currently who go into the field to motels and meet with people to try to speak with them about what is it that they need, what's their barrier to being able to find
Right.
full-time living situation. And often it's about the treatment that they need, if it's mental health treatment or if it's about,
Yeah, I think I'm
Job.
connecting the dots.
You
So
know.
who drives that? Do we have to qualify somebody to drive it around, or we?
I was looking for a van.
Okay.
So I don't think that would require that. I put van out there because I thought that would be less costly than,
Right,
say, an RV.
can be a mobile assault van, right? You know, with all kinds of antennas off it, because are you gonna connect the data?
Antennas as opposed to guns, yes.
And that's what my concern is, assault. I'm worried about the safety of the people that we send out on the road.
Yes.
And basically Tammy's saying that's how she's trying to conquer the safety issue.
Yeah.
I'm
with
thinking,
you.
I'm thinking maybe we shouldn't be out there, maybe we should bring them here, but that's totally,
That would be unmanageable with the numbers that we're dealing with.
the numbers are
Yeah,
so high.
you have to go out, get them, bring them back.
It would add crisis to
So-
our office, a lot of chaos to this building.
Okay,
One of the taxi companies just went out of business this week.
yeah,
Can't even get people where we need to get them without bringing them in here.
yeah, my apologies for being slow on the uptake. I didn't wait.
Okay.
No, that's
Yeah, the second you mentioned that, I was
good
like,
clarification.
Yeah,
ah,
it's
okay.
okay. I'm happy to talk about it. It's a problem that I recognize. This is a solution that I can imagine. I did talk with the safety officer, Phil, and I spoke this morning, and we'll work together on whatever kind of modifications should be
Yeah.
inside of this to be able to reduce the risk.
I'm with you on that, is the lease versus the buy, because on the lease, if we maintain this, now you're into IT upgrade, the life of the vehicle itself. I mean, I don't know if we want to buy right now until we have more data and understanding of the long-term need.
My feeling is that long-term, the county will always be able to use a van in some way, shape or form, whether it's in the DSS pool or in another.
Public safety will snag it. Just kidding.
I don't see us
Yeah.
doing a lot of modification around the technology. We have laptops right now. We do have my five,
ET, whatever
whatever those things are,
things are.
to make it, and then maybe an antenna of some sort. But I don't see us doing a lot of modifications to a lease vehicle. It's one of the concerns that I have.
They won't let you.
That's my theory.
So do we need a motion to accept the grant? Is that what we're asking for?
We need a motion to accept the grant and for her to put together a program as to how it's gonna work, right? That's what we're asking.
So at this point, they said this is the amount of money, but I have to submit this plan for them to give the approval to get the money. So I don't know where in that you're at. Certainly if you, I would guess that if you have a resolution that allows us to accept it, you can accept it whenever it comes.
I just need to know when you need the money. Like, if you're gonna hire somebody, I need the budget in place.
Yes, so, we have breakage in our. We have a ton of breakage in our budget, and I know that's a concern.
Are you gonna write that back to somebody that's already there? Cause it started
Has to be
July
somebody-
No, it has
first.
to be somebody new.
Has to be something.
I would like to be able to hire, for the, if I can, as soon as I can, September, I'd like to be able to fill that position. There is an active civil service list right now.
Yeah.
For that position, because it's a new title that we just started.
And that's kind of why I'm asking, because the resolution to amend the staffing pattern will go through at this board meeting. It would be nice to have the funding to accompany it.
Yeah, so that's where I'm at with this.
I'm quite certain that's solid for the position. I'm 80% certain that it's there for this vehicle.
But I feel like we know the 0.1 and the 0.8, and we can just put the balance in the 0.4. I think we can get a budget amendment written
Right.
on what we know.
What if we made a motion to, develop a plan, utilize the grant money, and to accept any grant money received or federal funds for the Family Center Case Management Program?
I think it's our responsibility to say that it's not, the plan doesn't fall under us, the plan falls whatever committee she reports to. So finance is just gonna take that plan when she gets it,
Right.
but what she needs to even know to work and put all the time into a plan is, can she apply for the grant? And then the plan will come.
And you can pass the budget today and pump the plan to HHS.
Right.
You could do that.
Right,
Yeah,
and that's the motion I would like to make.
that
That's what it
sounds about right.
Does that make sense?
Yep, no, I'm with you, cause
Melissa's got
I want to make sure I'm clear, because I think also the reason that it's coming to finance was because of the approval that you're looking for the position, right? Using that grant money, and also the approval to now lease a van, which
Or
is
buy the
subject
van.
to purchase.
She wants, she still
I want
wants.
to- I still want
If
to-
you're allowed to buy, right? But you think you may just have to purchase, but that was one of the subjects that had a lot of discussion at the committee meeting. So we just want to make sure that this committee really wants to go that direction with the van. So that's what we're really looking for.
yeah,
Being partially funded through this federal money and partially
Right.
funded through the foster care.
And that's what I would want to review, because I'm a little uncomfortable with the ARPA side. I wasn't aware.
okay, I'm comfortable with the operational argument or justification for the van. I'm comfortable with that. I understand that requirement. I'm comfortable with the amount of money that we're talking about, and I'm comfortable with the position. Question is administratively, how do we get it through the committees that makes the most sense? And for this step, if that
And to
seems,
fulfill the time,
say it,
and to fulfill the timing.
right,
This is a request that I made to Health and Human
Right,
Services. and
that's
it
already-
moved
that's what I got
forward
here.
to this.
That's all I got.
for the position or for all that we just talked about?
All that we just
All
talked
of it.
about.
Okay.
So I understand. So this would eventually go to the full board on Friday, is what I'm guessing. So are you gonna bring back whatever you learned from, if they have to alter it, we're gonna know that before we vote on Friday, if we have to alter it, we'd wanna know, right?
If I hear something that is absolute in this question and answer, yes, I will certainly let you know that right away. However, the other part of it is I still have to put in a plan and get either the approval to that or make modifications to that, and that is something I would bring to Health and Human Services.
That's fine. Still doesn't help with the ARPA part.
Well, that could be a discussion later off.
Okay.
I don't need, respectfully, I don't need committee for that conversation. But
Yep.
I'd like the funding to follow the position at least. So Sam's motion selfishly works for me.
My question, this is a grant that we're talking about is for 1 year, ends in,
Yes. So all of the money is in this budget right now that I could, there's enough money there to fully fund this van.
okay, we're talking about hiring a new person, plus the.
Plus the van.
Yes,
Under the same,
yes,
and there's enough money there this year from the grant to do that.
yes, as long as they approve the
And
budget.
if, in the future, if something, we don't receive anymore, you're saying that van could be used.
We still have the van.
We still have that.
Okay.
She still has a need to go out to these sites.
I understand that.
Yep, same.
Are we under a time crunch with the American Relief money to have it expended now?
Yes.
So
At least committed.
committed to going out and getting the van, would that cover that piece?
If I can. It was the request to me to, how are you going to be able to spend this money that got me on this path? And I initially put this out into the universe here with, I'd like to use all of foster care ARPA to buy this van. And the feedback from the chairman at that time was, the van's purpose isn't all about foster care recruitment. It's partially about foster care recruitment, so he was uncomfortable with saying it could be used for this exclusively. The timing being what it was, this other allocation came through, and it makes to me perfect sense to divide that cost between those two.
And so that might, so really that might be a future discussion, as Al said, with the ARPA, that might be offline to figure out how we're gonna utilize that. But there's plenty of money there to do both at this point.
Because lease versus buy causes some hurdles in ARPA funds. That
Yes.
could be a conversation offline.
Yeah, I think that I can work my way through the state agency to get approval for a purchase.
I don't doubt that.
Mr. Baker.
Problem I have with the lease is we're gonna pay for that perpetuity after.
Right.
Contract.
No, I'd rather buy it. That's why we have never gone to leasing. It becomes an issue.
Particularly with the way this funding is, if it does not continue, a lease is not sustainable.
We're gonna have a purchase. We're gonna own it.
Okay, all in favor of where we got with Dave's or with Sam's?
Well, Mr. Wilson was
Sure.
talking about developing a plan to utilize the grant money and accept the grant funds for the federal funds for the family centered program. Then it switched over to Sam just wants the use of the funds to come back to his committee. Or,
That's a
No,
HHS.
no, yeah, HHS, so,
Yeah.
or Sam, why don't you repeat your?
Yeah, it was, we approved the acceptance of the grant money, and then the plan would, the implementation of plan will be presented to the, design of the plan will be presented to the HHS committee. For
And it'd be-
approval.
And included an amendment to the DSS budget.
To the, yes.
Got about that.
Yes.
and amend the staffing pattern for the.
I think we're gonna do the staffing pattern separate, I believe, all of
That's
them.
next.
Yeah, actually, or do you wanna do it all in the same one? We can do it all in the same one if you want, because it is in that, it is in that. contract.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
okay
let's-
with a single
let's-
resolution.
Let's add the person,
Staffing change.
the staffing change
Case
to
worker
it.
assistant.
That's a good idea.
Just the one staffing or all?
There's only
The
one,
one for this grant.
there's only one for this grant.
We're tying the money, the van, and the.
They put the money in the position together, which is fantastic.
Yeah, it's best. It works. Good call, Dan.
Let's see, is there a second?
All right.
All in favor, say aye, or is there more discussion? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Thank you, and my apologies, I missed the HHS,
It's okay.
so I didn't
It's okay, thank you.
have that.
Don't miss again.
I'm trying now.
Okay, so we have two more positions that we need, that came from, the personnel committee. The county clerk, yeah, the county clerk's position, I don't, we're gonna do them all separate though.
I think they were just staffing plans that, so they can come out of personnel. I don't think there was any budget related to them,
Oh,
so.
that's right.
Personnel.
The only one that was related to budget was this one.
This one here.
Very good.
I don't make great on this agenda then.
Right. They were placeholders on the.
So does the title by grade have to be changed at our level on the probation one? I guess that's the only other.
That title's already there.
Title's already there, so we're good.
How do you put a title on a full-time temporary?
You just did.
In government, anything's possible, is what I've just heard.
Yeah, Tammy, come up with some good answers.
I'm looking for Jim.
Very good. Is there anything else? We have to.
Add something else.
Right.
Number 8. I don't see that in the resolution.
Times victims grant,
So-
no, I didn't see that either.
We didn't have time to get it off the agenda. He had budgeted for the grant in his 2024 budget. So I didn't know that when he sent it here from public safety.
Okay.
So there's no action
That's
necessary.
already done.
Yeah.
Great, thank you.
And the Ag and Markets one was the petroleum, so we've already done that one. Yep. We all good? Is there any other business for the board? Very good. Well, thanks, everyone. You're adjourned.
Thank you.